Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you could join me today. Today I'm going to be talking about how to stay mentally organized. Now, I just want to preface this by saying, like, I'm not a type A person at all. I'm not like a super hyper control freak that plans out like every 30 minutes of my day, what it's supposed to look like, what's supposed to happen. I do have goals and everything like that, but I'm just not one of those kinds of people. But I do feel like I'm organized in a way that works for me. And a little bit of background about me and why I kind of wanted to make this video in the first place is because I'm someone who is neurodivergent, ADHD. I only say that because I've never been diagnosed. I've been like high functioning enough. I kind of hate that, but I cope well enough on my own without any sort of diagnosis or medication. And I just kind of want to share that with you guys. If you're someone like me who thinks in kind of like different patterns and it's hard to feel grounded all the time, but you have so many things that you need to do, this video I do believe is going to help you a little bit. At least walk away with one or two tips and tricks to kind of like keep yourself on task and get things done and not feel like you're drowning all the time. I can always tell when I'm not doing well, maybe mentally, but just like in general, if like I feel like tasks are taking so much longer than I thought they would, or I just feel like I'm drowning in all the things that I still have to do and I didn't allot enough time for them. That's when I can kind of tell. And then like a phase or like some sort of haze where things just aren't getting done because mentally like I don't have the capacity or the bandwidth to just like sit down and figure out what needs to be done when. I'm actually going to be mentioning this later, but I do have all my little tips written down in my agenda, which, surprise, surprise, is one of the tips. Like I said, I'm very go with the flow, like whatever happens, happens kind of gal. That doesn't mean I am disorganized all the time. It doesn't mean that I don't like planning or I don't like setting an agenda or having benchmarks of goals that I'm trying to meet. But I just do it in a way that's probably a little bit different than someone who is, I'd say type A, but like, you know, someone who is very like sticks to everything that they say they're gonna do, or like knows exactly when it's gonna happen. They're very punctual. Like what I'll do is I'll know that something needs to get done. I don't exactly plan what it needs to do, but I know how much time I need and what I need for it. And then just kind of like slip it in, work it in as it comes up. And I meet all the commitments that I make. But again, I won't make commitments if I don't feel up to it, if I feel like days are getting away from me and I'm just like in a whirlwind. That's also like another indicator for me of like, I just need to slow down in general, beyond just like planning better, just slowing down. The first tip I have for staying like mentally on top of your game and just organized and calm and collected is to keep a physically organized space. This video is not going to be that. I've never been a super tidy person growing up. Do I wish I would have tried harder as a kid or like picked up some better habits? Yes, absolutely, in my adulthood, like hindsight 2020, but here we are now. Even if you don't have like space for things, just keeping things like enclosed so you're not looking at the visual clutter all the time. That just takes up a lot of space mentally to like look at something, see it. There have been a lot of studies that have been done about how clutter and messiness does stress you out. Let's say you get to work and your desk is an absolute mess. Even if you're not tidying up and like literally cleaning everything, if you can just take everything off your desk and like dump it in a box and like find some time to deal with it later, just so you can like sit down and have like a very clear, clean slate to then work off of, like you are going to set yourself up for success. And that is like my number one tip for no matter where you are, what you're doing. If you want to mentally feel a little bit more calm, collected, make sure your space reflects that. Sorry if the lighting changed a little bit or got darker or whatever. I'm actually using my phone as a light. It literally keeps falling over. This tip of keeping your things in space organized also goes for having like your calendar organized. So for me, what that means is literally having a physical agenda. And I love this one, and I'll tell you why later, but I love having an agenda of just things that I can like pull from my bag and like write in versus having like an Apple calendar and then a Google calendar and then email reminders. Having it all in one place is such a good method for keeping yourself organized because you always know what place to go to look for the information that you need about like appointments, dates, hangouts, parties, flights, big events. All of that is going to be like in one spot versus across like multiple apps. For me, what's most helpful is having a physical agenda. It's just something about like the action of writing something like sears it into my brain so much better than like clicking, oh yes, add this to my Apple calendar. Like that doesn't really do it for me. What does it for me is looking at the little block, looking at the little space, putting the appointment, putting the time, putting the date, all the little details, so it's like seared into my brain. The address sometimes, even if it's a new place, that way like what I can do with the agenda is like open it, read the address, and then type it into Google Maps on my phone, and I don't have to like be switching apps. Like, it's just so useful for me. Luckily in school, literally in middle school, so strange, but they had us like, they would give us an agenda every year, which I really appreciated, and definitely built the habit for me to write things like homework, due dates, project due dates, deadlines, all that in an agenda. And like, it really just kept me going. And I also could look forward to like holidays and be like, oh, we have this day of school off, and like have something to look forward to, but also things that like I knew like needed to be done. It was like already written in. But I want to talk about this agenda specifically. What I do is get this on Amazon every year, and I actually have like a sustainable options filter, and luckily this agenda popped up and I absolutely adore it. The brand is actually one I've never heard of. It's called Jubtic. Literally don't know what that is. It's probably just some random Amazon brand, but what I love is that it has all of your months organized by like tabs, so you can kind of flip to the tab that you need. So let's flip to December, and then it gives you the month, and then I, you know, have little dates that I write in. It came with stickers, so I put little stickers in here, and it's just really good for me to like have things to look at like monthly. But one of the biggest reasons I love this agenda specifically is that at the beginning of each month it gives you like a page to kind of just journal through, and then also it gives you this little square about monthly goals, your to-do list for the month, important dates, and your wish list. And I actually love this little wish list box because it's a different kind of goal. It's a different sort of incentive versus like, I get to check this off my to-do list. It's something that like, this is something I want to work for it, work towards it, and like achieve it and get it. I find this specifically really keeps me on task and helps me kind of like stay motivated in an intrinsic way versus like feeling like there's some external motivation for me to do it. Like, I just do it because I want to, and I wrote it down, and it feels more like of a commitment versus just thinking about it and having it floating around. And I'm definitely the kind of person, like if I'm hanging out with friends or doing something, I always tell them, I'm like, we can't just talk about it, like we need to set a date on the calendar so that way it happens. Truly having something set in stone like really does it for me. Anything else, just like talking about it, doesn't do it, but writing it down always does it. And these are what the day pages look like. You know, it gives you a lot of space to go day by day and write in appointments. It's got other fun features. You know, it comes with stickers, which I actually really enjoyed. Habit tracker, I actually have never used this / seen it. It has these 3 little tabs, like the month I'm on, the day I'm on, and the upcoming month. That way I can kind of like look ahead to see things, especially during holiday season when things get so busy. That's when I find it most important to kind of like have my eyes on not only what I'm doing now, but like what's upcoming, what I need to plan in further detail for. I'm gonna leave the link down below so you guys can check out this specific journal. It comes in like a ton of different colors. You can recycle it and everything like that. I just think this is like the best size, and it's like so easy to use, and yeah, I just love everything about it. Even has like a little pen holder here, which I do typically have a pen. It's one of the best things I can do when it comes to like planning. Also, it really helps me kind of stay mentally grounded and focused is meditation and yoga. And like, this might be like beating a dead horse, like you've probably heard all this before, but it really does help just like bring you down to another level and get out of your head and back into your physical, and just like in touch with your senses and what is like actually happening in the moment, being present. But also meditation kind of gives you a second to like put yourself at an arm's distance from all of these overwhelming kind of anxious thoughts that you might be having, and that might be making you feel like very chaotic, very cluttered, very cramped, very stressed out, just like in your head. And when you take the moment to just breathe, take a few deep breaths, or even do yoga, do something that's more in your body and less in your mind, it's going to calm you down and give you clarity, kind of like clear up any situation that you've just been like having it on loop in the back of your head. What meditation and yoga does is really kind of like lets you step away from that and not feel tied to it. And then if you do come back, or when you do come back to assess it, you just feel so much more clear-headed, and like you know what steps you need to take to tackle the situation. You just can feel more in touch and in tune with yourself versus just kind of like running around in your head and like doing a little bit of nothing but over and over and over again. Always meditation and yoga really kind of same thing as like clearing your desk. It's clearing your mind. It's the same exact concept, but instead of like physically, it's like happening mentally. Even if you're not like neurodivergent or you're like, you know, super chaotic, you should just meditate. You should just do yoga. Everyone's life is super stressful, and I think it could really help a lot of people if they just like take the time to breathe. Clearing that mental clutter of doing like yoga and meditation kind of brings me to my next point of journaling. For me, this is a lot like having an agenda. It's just not floating around in my head. I literally just put it on paper, and that makes it more real if it's like something that's upcoming. Or if I'm journaling, it allows me to release it and kind of like brain dump and get it off of my mind, out of my head, and onto paper. And that way I can kind of put the situation to bed, or put the emotions like they've been processed. I've kind of gone through them, I've felt them, I wrote about them, and now I feel ready to release them, versus kind of ruminate on a situation and stew over it and let it get me like angry again or sad again. And if it's something joyful, you know, you write it down and you can go back to those pages and relive it. In terms of being mentally organized and mentally clear, I think clarity is the biggest thing when it comes to that. You don't want to be stressed out and feeling chaotic all the time. You do want to kind of just like release what's going on and put it onto paper, and then you can move on, and then you feel so much better. You don't feel so heavy and dragged down by whatever situations you've been replaying in your head. This next tip is something I've had to learn myself, and I still sometimes struggle with it, but that is doing things as they need to be done, as I see them, as long as they're gonna take 2 minutes or less. Now, this doesn't really apply to like big major chores, but if it's something like you need to pick up something off the ground or wipe up a spill, if you just do it right then and there, that's one less thing you're thinking about, oh, I have to do that later, oh, I have to do that, or like you're not accounting for it in your day, it's just done already. Little things that you know could be done very quickly, like 2 minutes or less, just do them. Just do them. You won't be thinking about them. You'll be moving throughout your day in a more productive way, but also it helps cut down on that like physical clutter as well, and it just sets you up for success like the next time you're in that space or in that area or doing that thing again. Like it's already prepped, set, and ready to go for you, and you haven't been thinking about it. Little things I'm talking about, little tidying up things, keeping clean things, like those, just do them when you see that they need to be done, and it's done. You don't have to think about it, and you can like keep going and, you know, have your blinders on and focus on like the more important tasks. My next tip might be a little obvious, it might be a little overdone, but it's planning and preparing for the next day ahead. The biggest thing for me when I'm talking about this is like making your breakfast the night before, or making your lunch, or putting leftovers away in like a lunch specific container so you can just grab it and take it, versus waking up in the morning and like entirely making a lunch and then go. Or having your outfit laid out, or just knowing what you want to wear the next day. Those little tiny things, not only do they save time and they're just good habits to build, but it's just less mental load that you have to think about, and again, you can really focus on the other things ahead that you really need your mental energy for, versus like taking 10-15 minutes to pick out an outfit. I'm talking more like the mundane, like day-to-day things where you just like, I have to get dressed to go to work, I just have to do that. I can't just like, you know, roll up in PJs, so I do have to pick an outfit every day. But if I just plan it out the night before, it's one less thing I have to think about in the morning, and I can just go and feel like I can actually tackle the things that need more resources. And it doesn't have to be like a very structured or very detailed plan. You can prepare mentally and tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna wake up at 7, I'm gonna go downstairs, wash my face, brush my teeth, eat, and then get dressed and then leave. It could just be like you tell yourself what you're gonna do, so you don't have to think about like moving through your day. That also really nicely brings me into my next point, which is just building routines. Honestly, I think that's the biggest thing any of us can do for ourselves to stay organized, is to have like habits and routines, things that you just do day in and day out, and you can go on autopilot basically. Like that to me frees up so much of my energy of like thinking of what I need to do, and I just get things done. I just do them because they're habit. That way you can like know what kinds of pockets of time you have. So like, let's say your morning routine takes you 45 minutes in total, but you don't have to leave for like an hour after you wake up. Then you kind of instinctively know like, hey, I have 15 minutes of my morning routine that I could build a new habit doing. Well, there's that little pocket of time that I could maximize and start something and get something finished, maybe even, or some sort of project. Like, you just know it's possible, it's doable, because you know your routine, you know your habits. I think that's one that's overlooked. People are creatures of habit, like we all know that, but like recognizing your habits and kind of looking a little bit further than the surface and just knowing kind of what you do day in and day out, and like recognizing when you're on autopilot is going to help highlight little pockets of time for you to be more productive or just optimize them. It doesn't even have to be like you have to be productive. Let's say you want to spend that 15 minutes of your morning building a puzzle. You can build a puzzle. It doesn't have to be productive. It could be something that you just want to dedicate more time to do. Again, bring more joy into your life, more clarity, just moving through life in a way that you don't feel chaotic or bogged down or drowning because you just have so much going on, so much to do all the time, always busy, always stressed out. No one likes feeling like that. No one likes to run around like a chicken with their head cut off. Just chill, just breathe, just have these routines that you can rely on, have your methods of organization, again, a clean space, writing things down. That stuff all works really, really well for me. And like I said, I am not a person who has my days planned out, days in advance. I'm very much so go with the flow, but I do have pockets of my day that are very routine, that I do know what I can anticipate. And it does help me a lot. Like, it helps me start off on the right foot, shall we say. If you're like me, you know, ADHD, sometimes I do kind of miscalculate how much time something's gonna take, even in my routines. And that's okay though, because I can still plan to give myself even extra time and know that like I'll still get out the door at a decent hour and I won't be like 30 minutes late to work. That's just kind of like my tips, tricks, and advice. And I do think a person with a brain like mine, like, it is really helpful, because even if you are like a type A person, these could even like boost you even further, unless you already do them. But to that extent, like, it really can kind of like further your productivity if that's like what you're really focused on. Although I don't really think that's the point of what I'm saying. I think the point of what I'm really trying to get down to is that you should have free time to clear your mind and not feel stressed. I think the organizational part of things just helps humans feel less stressed. Like, we know what's predictable, we know what's going to happen in our day in and day out, so we can relax, feel comfortable, and feel safe. And in a world like this where so much is happening all the time, very stressful, what we can do if in our own personal lives we don't feel less stressed and bogged down, we can extend that kindness and that empathy to people that really need it. And we all really need it, let's be honest. And like, being a kind person is probably my #1 mission in this lifetime, and being organized and kind of clear-headed and having clarity just helps me do that, helps me be a kinder person. I don't feel so stressed out. I don't feel so quick to snap at people, or like I have a really short temper. And that's just because of how I've set myself up for safety and comfort in my own life, and then I know I can be kind and generous to other people. Sorry if the lighting has gone like really flashy. I am just now noticing in the back. Like, that's so frustrating. But I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you have any other tips you'd love to extend, go ahead and comment down below. We'd love to talk about it, or anything that you have like had a huge breakthrough with in terms of organization, whether it be physical or more of like a mental planning kind of thing. Like, I'd love to know. There's going to be a video at the end of this one recommended just for you. You should definitely check it out. I'm curious what it's going to be today. And then I'm also going to have a playlist linked at the end of this video. So if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe. The button is like somewhere around here. Also, again, please comment any other organizational tips you have. And if you're this far, I want you to comment the palm tree emoji for our girl Lily here. She's hanging out in the background, helping bring some interest to my videos, which we love. But that's gonna be it. Until I see you guys in next Sunday's video, don't forget to be kind to yourself, others, and the planet. Catch you next time. Bye.